Hello, everyone. Welcome to English 1302. My name is Robin Bell, and I'll be your English instructor this semester. This is a video overview explaining how this class is organized, how to navigate it, along with some tips and suggestions. You'll notice at the start of the semester, during the very first week, and usually on the very first day, the class is pretty locked down, and all you can see is the syllabus pronto and sundries module along with the syllabus quiz. You also have access to course announcements, which are really important to read, and I'm happy to see that most everybody in the class, I think 15 out of the 20, have already seen the course announcement for day one, the focus of which is for us to read the syllabus, take the syllabus quiz, and say hey to the class in pronto. Most everybody has done that on day one. If I click into the folder called Syllabus Pronto and Sundries, you'll see those things there. Obviously, you'll want to return to the syllabus throughout the course of the semester when you have questions or need to look up a policy or see what's coming up next. And then we also have the MLA formatting and writing support folder, which is another resource that you might want to return to again and again. There's a sample MLA simulator. It's a little interactive app that you can click on to see how an MLA paper is formatted and what the basic look of it is, what the basic parts of it are, and things like that. We have a little bit more information about MLA format, which MLA stands for Modern Language Association, and there are some sample papers there. We have a link to the Upswing and CLE tutoring portal, and this is a place where you can upload your papers for asynchronous paper review, and you can also schedule appointments with online or in-person tutors. And then there's also a website that links to some really concise and helpful reference information about punctuation. Starting on the second day of the class, you'll see access to a bit more content, beginning with the Start Here folder. And even though this is something that all of your professors have a version of in their classes, it's really important that you click into it for each of your classes and that you go through all of document pages there. Likely, there will be a few document pages that are the same across courses, and that's because the school gives us a set of uh, documents that we need to all have in our courses so that students have consistent access to that no matter which class they're taking. But the rest of the pages, we have a great deal of leeway in terms of what we can revise and how we can personalize those things. And since every professor is different, it's important that you click into this and kind of see what kind of things are they emphasizing, what are their different policies, how do they run their course, that kind of thing. And most of those things are probably going to be things that you've already encountered on the syllabus, but on the first day, you probably have to read more than one syllabus in more than one class, and maybe it's hard in the beginning to kind of keep track of what's what in the different courses. So one of the things that you might be most surprised about in this class is that I'm pretty AI forward, and there are a number of assignments that I'll actually require you to use AI on. And that's not because we're going to be having it do our work or write our essays for us, but I'm a big advocate of using it in ethical and productive ways. I do still have rules and restrictions and expectations in terms of how and when we use AI, and we always have to be really transparent in terms of how we use that. So I'll always ask you to submit your chat threads, for example, and we'll always do some kind of reflective writing on our AI use and things of that nature. So as long as we do that and we play by the rules and we don't violate the trust that I've placed in the class, this is going to be a really fun and productive semester. And I'm really looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Another thing that's good to know when it comes to this class is the fact that you don't have to buy a textbook. Everything that you need will be provided to you, whether that be lesson content, handouts, resources, or any assigned readings. And we'll see an example of that in our first unit, which I'm going to go ahead and click into here, even though it's technically not visible on in the class for you right now. And I'm going to click in and show you an example of that. Our very first unit and our modules, by the way, let me back up for just a moment and explain how the class is organized. Normally in a long semester, I have 3 separate big units for the rhetoric class, and each one is centered on a specific theme, a specific type of paper, or a specific reading. And in a summer class, especially summer 10, we're still going to do the same amount of work that we would do in a 15-week class, but I'm doing some things to try to make it easier for us to be able to do that at a pace that is reasonable and that makes sense. So to that end, instead of us having 3 papers and 3 main units, we'll have 2 main units and 2 papers. Our very first paper is centered on a work of literature because the English department requires that we do at least one, so we're going to start with this one. So we're not going to use any outside research on this one. We're just going to read the play. We're going to watch a movie that the play is that is based on the play, and we're going to write a paper about that. At the top of each unit, you'll notice that whatever assignment sheet that we have will be here, and that's what you'll click on to see, well, what kind of paper are we writing? What are the requirements? How many pages have to be? And so on. We'll also have a weekly overview and to-do list, and you'll want to click on that. That's the first thing that you'll want to click on each week because it'll tell you the flow, what the assignments we're doing, and so on. And also at the beginning of a module, if I have a reading that pertains to that whole module, that'll be up at the top too. You'll see I have a PDF for the play right there. And then I also have a link to the STC databases, which the reason why I have that there is you click on it and you go to it, it takes you to the actual entry in the databases, and there is a citation button there that you can click on to get the citation for the works cited entry. And I'll click on it maybe in a moment, but I don't want to do that now because I'm trying to keep this video as brief as I possibly can. Okay, I paused the video so I could go ahead and log into the link for the ebook just to show you what I was referencing just a moment ago. If I click on the quotation marks, I can navigate to MLA 9th edition, and it comes up with the works cited entry for this book. So our first paper is only based on this one book. It's a play. It's about 60 pages, so it's not a lengthy read, but the entry is done for us. It's not in the right font, and you'll have to change it to Times New Roman, but you won't even have to really do that. You'll just click that to the clipboard, copy paste that into the last page of your paper, adjust the formatting, the font, and you have that aspect done. So that's really the only reason that we have a link to that for the link to the play in the databases. All right, so if we look underneath, we see that everything in the Unit 1 folder is organized by weeks. If I click into that, you'll see the to-do list at the top, and then you'll also see the course lessons. Those are meant to be consumed or processed in order, but you don't necessarily have to do them all at once. But you do want to look at the lessons and especially process the ones that are directly related to the assignments. You never really want to click on the assignments and just wing them because typically you'll be missing out on examples, instruction, expectations, things that I would have said if this were a face-to-face class and things of that nature. So really important that you process these things before completing a when it comes time to look for or turn in assignments, one thing that I do differently than probably at least some of your other professors is that I don't put those assignments inside the weekly folders, and there's a reason for that. I dislike having to click around to find things and to hunt for them, and I try to minimize that when I can. And so instead of putting them inside of the folders and having people often wonder, like, is that in week 1? Is that in week 3? Where is that? I put them out in the open underneath the last folder. So again, the workflow is to click into the folder, look at the to-do list, process the lessons in order, and then look at the the assignments that are there below. Now again, you don't have to necessarily read everything all at once. You can look and see what you have to do and before you tackle an assignment. So obviously the syllabus quiz, you need to read the syllabus before you can take that. So that's in the module at the top of the screen, not in one of the weekly folders. So that's kind of a special exception there. This video that you're watching right now is going to be placed in a USIA playback quiz, and I've got a copy of one that I used last year that I'm showing on the screen for you right now. It looks like this. So what happens is I take this video, and after rendering it to YouTube, I put it inside a platform that we have in Blackboard called USIA, and it allows me to create a quiz out of that video. If I want to add questions to it, I can, but if I just want students to watch it, then I often create a playback quiz where you just click on it, and when you do that, it will launch and you press play, and you have to watch it all the way through to get the points, and then you just exit out. You don't have to press submit, you don't have to do anything, you just have to watch it all the way through, and then when it's done, you exit out of that, and then you don't click back into this link at all to check on it to see if it's posted or anything like that, because if you do, the system will reset that quiz to a 0. So anytime we use a third-party tool, which is a platform that doesn't come with Blackboard, but it's one that we use that can integrate into Blackboard, then often those things won't show up in your calendar, and they will often say ungraded or unlaunched until the grade posts. Some things like this are auto-graded, and there is a bit of a delay before it does, so don't worry if you don't see it post right away. It often doesn't post until everybody has taken it, and just avoid that temptation to click back in, because then it sets it to 0, and there's no way to undo that other than to click it and to watch the video again or let it run all the way through. Okay, so the assignments are outside of the weekly folders, and so at the beginning of a unit you'll only see 1 or 2 things, and then the next week you'll see a couple more things, and so on. So by the end of that unit, you'll see all of the course assignments underneath that. So the next thing I want to talk about, and this is also an old one from last semester, but I'm going to click into it so you can see what it is. We're going to do a class icebreaker that I think is kind of fun, and it's a link right here, and it uses another third-party tool called Padlet, and many of you are probably already familiar with that, but those who are not, I'm going to show you what that looks like. So when you click into this, and this is from last summer, you'll see a Padlet, and it looks like this, and you can kind of post things on there. You can introduce yourself to the class. I'll show you how that works here in just a moment, and you can add comments and shout outs to your classmates. So it's kind of fun. Before you do that, once you click in, you're going to want to click this little arrow thing so that it pops out into its own window. And this way you have more controls. And since this is a graded Padlet, you should see some kind of little icon up here. And if you click on it, it should show your name, and you can go into your dashboard and do all kinds of things. You could change the picture here or the image and do that kind of thing. But in order to participate in the Padlet, all you have to do is you can either double click anywhere on the page, or you can click the post button right here. And when you do click the post button, it comes up with a little pop-up, and this is where you can put your name here under subject, but it'll also kind of automatically put your name over here, but you can also put a title here, which many people do. And this middle part right here is where you start typing your introduction to yourself. And you can play with this. When you click on all tools, you'll see all the different things you could add. You could turn on a camera, video recorder, but mostly what we need to do is we need to add something visual, and we need to give an introduction of ourselves to the class that includes 5 fun facts that we might not otherwise get an opportunity to share, just by nature of the fact that this is an online course and we don't have the same opportunities to visit as we would in an in-person class. So that image could be, it could be a selfie, it could be a picture of a dog, it could be a GIF, it could be a music video, it could be any number of things, but it should be something that is either meant to reveal some aspect of your humor or your personality or a hobby, an interest, a show that you're interested in, and things like that. Last summer, I put Cruella de Vil just as kind of a little riff or a joke on me being the professor and kind of the one who is loading everybody down with work, but I promise I'm no Cruella. All right, so you'll see some of the things that I put last year for my icebreaker. Some of these things I kind of leave on there from year to year, and then I usually change up a couple of things. So it's just 5 fun facts that you'll include, and then this gives us an opportunity to kind of learn a little bit about each other and to give some shout outs and make connections to the class. Super easy to do, kind of fun, and a really easy grade. So that is the icebreaker. So that's kind of how the flow of the class goes and the basics of what you need to know. The other things that you need to know we'll kind of address just in time as we need them for whatever course assignment that we're doing or whatever it is that we're working on. But this is the basic flow and the basic uh, aspect of what you need to know to be successful in the course. A few other things that I'll say before I wrap this is that I don't use Blackboard messages, so please don't send me anything through there. The 2 course platforms that I use to communicate with students are Pronto, which can be accessed through that top module or through your phone or through your STC JAG-mail. So anytime you have something really important and official, I recommend that you use email for that, but that would be your JAG-mail to my email. Use Pronto for class questions, for if you want help on something and things like that. I'm really active on both. I'm really glad that you're here. I want you to know, and I hope you could soon see that I am genuinely interested in your success in the class. I have a pretty good sense of humor. I love interacting in Pronto. I love GIFs, and I'm pretty much available at a lot of different times for the times when you have questions about an assignment, when there's something that's confusing or needs clarity, and you should never be afraid to reach out and ask questions. I hope that everybody has a great first day, a great first week, and please don't hesitate to reach out at any time, as long as it's not too terribly late. Let's be respectful of everybody's time and maybe not messages at 2 o'clock in the morning and wait until maybe an hour when everybody's awake. But other than that, I just want to welcome everybody to the class and wish everybody all the best in this class and your other classes. Y'all have a great day and a great rest of the week. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.